Hi, I'm Kirsty. I've been super lucky to live in Kenya for the past 3 years, and in that time I've tried to explore as much of the country as I could, which means I've had some incredible experiences and met some absolutely amazing people, and I wanted to share my adventures. So today we're going to Samburu. So the place I was staying at is called Sarara, and it's in Namnyak Wildlife Conservancy, which means a place of total serenity, and it's just the most beautiful place you could ever go. That's me, driving that massive car you just saw me in, heading up from Nairobi to Nanyuki, then on to Isiolo, then Archer's Post, then Seriolipi, and from there you have to go off-road, which is why you need a four-wheel drive, so that's why I had such a big car. And the journey took about 7 or maybe 8 hours in total. And the only other way to get there that I knew of at the time was to fly to the airstrip, but that was just way beyond my budget. And in retrospect, I do think you could get a matatu to Seriolipi and then change to a motorbike. But at the time, I just didn't know the right people to ask about that. So driving was my only option, but it was amazing. I went off-road, and this happened. And then this. I got surrounded by camels. Hi! I love the way they look in the window. I really couldn't move. There was like a camel blockade. But in the distance there, you can see the airstrip, which was where I was headed for to meet my guides. I like how that one just looks the other way. They were so smiley. So that's the airstrip, and there, waiting for me in all of their Samburu splendor, were Kevin and Seningo. They were my guides for the 5 days that I stayed there, and they are Samburu warriors, and they just looked so amazing. I was not expecting to be welcomed like that. I mean, it was just me, but I felt like a queen. It was so cool. So at Sarara, I was staying in their tree houses, which are really up in the trees. You walk along a walkway like I just showed in the video, and inside the tent, it's like a palace. It's absolutely enormous. It was like in Harry Potter when they go camping and you go inside the tent and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Before Kenya, my experience of camping was hiking through the rain and the midges in Scotland with your sleeping bag and your tent on your back. Here, there's an indoor bathroom. That's me waving in the mirror. Hi! And also the shower is outdoors, so you can just shower beneath the starlight. It was just so beautiful. All the details, everything. It was like being in some kind of paradise. Then I went to stand on my balcony, and there were some giraffes just walking past. It was an incredible sight, right by my tent. It was so peaceful and just the most wonderful antidote to being in Nairobi, where I diagnosed myself with a condition I invented called horizon deprivation. Then that evening we went out into the conservancy for my first game drive. Kevin was driving and Seningo was up high spotting animals. And again, it was just so peaceful. We saw even more giraffes. You could just look at the beautiful sunlight shining on the mountains. It was just the most stunning landscape. And it was amazing to be spending time with people that just love nature and know so much about it. Zazu!
We have almost 4 species present here. So this piece, the male have long beaks and female. But for the founder dickens, the one you saw with the black beard, that's a female. And the male have red with white on tip, but it's thicker than this one.
It was so peaceful. Everywhere that you looked, there was something to see. It was like being in paradise. And we went for sundowners and we just watched the sunset in total tranquility. Then, the next morning, I had to get up super early because I was going to the Reteti Elephant Sanctuary, which was amazing. So this elephant sanctuary is actually the reason why I wanted to go to Samburu, because I had been following their account on Instagram for years, even before I moved here. And they're raising the most incredible elephant called Longuro, who I think is 6 now, but they rescued him from the bottom of a well when he was just a baby, and he had had almost all of his trunk ripped off by a hyena. And nobody knew if he was going to survive or not. But now he is surviving, and he's learnt to eat in his own way, and his friends help him out. And the keepers, of course, and it's just the most incredible and inspiring survival story. And this song that the keepers are singing was such a cool thing to see that the elephants are welcomed with when they get their milk. It's something that the warriors sing when they're pulling water up from the wells for their animals. There he is. I don't know why, I just fell in love with Longuro as soon as I saw him on their Instagram page. And back then, I never imagined that I would come and see him in real life. And even when I moved to Kenya and I realized that maybe I could do it, I still didn't believe it because I didn't know anyone that wanted to go, and I didn't know if I could do it on my own. There's not a lot of information out there about traveling solo to get to Samburu. And also, if you're traveling on your own, you still have to pay the same price as what 2 people would pay, but they would be able to split the cost between themselves. And I also thought long and hard about whether to go or not, because I had heard some not very positive things about the wildlife conservancies in Kenya. But this one is part owned by the community, and so you just see people living their regular life, taking their animals out for pasture and being able to live side by side with the wildlife as they have done for centuries. And the milk that the elephants drink is actually goat's milk, and it's brought to the elephant sanctuary by women from the community who milk their goats like normal, but are able to then make a profit from their milking. So they benefit from the elephant project too. So I felt like my holiday for myself was not just for me. It was being helpful to other people as well. I think it was the most expensive holiday I've ever been on, but it was worth every single penny. And there's no way I could ever have had an experience like that without going all that way. And I was really happy that my visit ended up being helpful to people as well as the elephants. Zazu! I didn't know how much I love hornbills until I went to Sarara. I'd only seen them in The Lion King, and Zazu is really annoying in that film. But they're so cool! And going back to the conservancy issue, I definitely recommend watching a film called The Battle For Laikipia. It's a really hard watch, but it explains very well the differences of opinions between the conservancy owners and the pastoralists. And there's also a book called The Big Conservation Lie that I'm reading at the moment, and it's also incredibly enlightening. I certainly don't know everything there is to know about conservation or the different cultures in Kenya, but I'm trying to learn as much as possible. And one thing I was very surprised by is that there are many places in Kenya where the pastoralists are not allowed access to with their animals. So if you're interested, I'll put the links to the book and the film down below. Anyway, on a lighter note, after spending the morning at the elephant sanctuary, that evening we went on another game drive, and this was so cool. We were playing around with the binoculars, using my phone to film through the binoculars lens, and it created this amazing cine camera effect like home movies from the 60s or 70s. And we were just sitting on that sundowner rock doing this for ages. It was so much fun. I just absolutely loved it. And again, it was just so calming. It was such a peaceful activity. And like I said before, spending time with people that just love nature so much and have so much knowledge about it was, for me, just more than I could ever have dreamed of or wished for. And One exceptionally cool thing about having Samburu warriors as your guides is that they grew up there looking after their animals, and they know the landscape so well that I'm sure they could still get home with their eyes closed. So they'll point out a mountain and be like, "Oh yeah, I spent 6 months up there with my cows. There's a very cheeky leopard that lives up there." So they really know what to do when you come across an elephant unexpectedly or a leopard, because they've met them face to face on foot. So they really know if the animal is agitated or if it's going to attack or something like that, which I would have absolutely no clue about. So being in the presence of people that know about things like that was just awe-inspiring.
But you see, this guy is still young because the ears are still up.
Oh, his ears go saggy.
So, yeah, they sag it a little bit.
Like human faces.
Yeah.
That binocular technique also worked at night time. You could just see the animals so closely. And then, although I didn't include the picture, we came across some fresh elephant dung, and then, very shortly after that, the elephant himself. We all jumped out of our skin, especially the elephant, who turned on his heels and legged it.
We all got afraid.
I didn't see it.
No.
I was so surprised.
Yeah. He was also surprised.
Then the next morning I went hiking, and then that evening I went horse riding among the giraffes. Oh my goodness. Wow. Here, the shadow makes it look like I'm riding an elephant, but I promise it was a horse. You can do this even if you're just a beginner. My elephant horse was called Dea, and my guide was called Lenawala, and he's called the Samburu cowboy. Then it was all over and I had to go back to Nairobi. Actually, I asked if I could stay an extra day because I had had such a nice time and they very kindly accommodated me. I could have looked at those mountains forever. They were just so stunning. Thank you so much, Kevin and Seningo, for such an amazing experience. And thank you for watching. See you in the next one.